Assalamu alaikum. Can I have your attention, please? Welcome. Dear brothers and sisters, friends, esteemed guests, Assalamu alaikum. It is very gratifying to look around to see so many familiar faces that are pleased to welcome of this event. My name is Mohammed Jawaid. I'm one of the founders of Ruya, and I'm glad to welcome all to this seminar and informative session on college funding or planning. I would like to start this with a dua, and I would like to invite Brother Salim Caputo. He is a resident of Fremont, a father of 4 sons, and a senior product manager working for FireEye. So a lot of people who are in the high-tech team might know what FireEye is. It's one of the security provider for all the major companies here.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبح اسم ربك الأعلى الذي خلق فسوى والذي قدر فهدى والذي أخرج المرعى فجعله غثاء أهوى سنقرئك فلا تنسى إلا ما شاء الله إنه يعلم الجهر وما يخفى ونيسرك لليسرى فذكر إن نفعت الذكرى سيذكر من يخشى ويتجنبها الأشقى أشقى الذي يصلى النار الكبرى ثم لا يموت فيها ولا يحيا قد أفلح من تزكى وذكر اسم ربه فصلى بل تؤثرون الحياة الدنيا والآخرة خير وأبقى إن هذا لفي الصحف الأولى صحف إبراهيم وموسى. And the translation is, in the name of Allah, the All-Merciful, the All-Compassionate, pronounce the purity of the name of your most exalted Lord, who created everything and then made it well, and who determined for a measure for everything and then guided it, and who brought forth pastures, then turned it into blackened stubble. We will make you recite, so then you will not forget, except that which Allah wills. Indeed, He knows what is manifest and what is hidden, and He will facilitate for you to reach the easiest way. So extend advice to people if advice is useful. The one who fears Allah will observe this advice.
Let me introduce you and give a little bio of Professor Elijah Reynolds. I hope I'm pronouncing his name properly. Brother or Professor Elijah, he teaches Arabic at Santa Clara University and Bayan Claremont Islamic Graduate University. He received his master's in Department of Near Eastern Language and Cultures in Arabic Language and Linguistics and Islamic Studies from Indiana University. He is currently a PhD candidate finishing dissertation in Arabic phonology in fulfillment of the doctorate degree in linguistics. His research focus is on Arabic phonology, particularly in the role of supra-segmental tiers in the narrative of phonology and phonetic interface, models of acquisition and computation computational of loan words in Egyptian. I don't know, I mean, as an engineer, it goes beyond my intellect. But we are very fortunate to be in this area where we have such experts of the suprasegmental tier of the in Arabic language. We are all very pleased to have Professor Reynolds here today to discuss what else needs to be done to improve our education in our fine country. Please give him a warm and hearty welcome, Professor Elijah Reynolds.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We're in the heart of Silicon Valley, and we're having technical difficulties. Naturally. No, I'm good with this one, I think. Can everybody hear me okay? Yeah? All right. Sorry, we're having a little bit of technical problems connecting our machines. But I just wanted to say thank you to all of you for coming out. I know there's a lot going on today. Sunday's always a busy day up here in the Bay. You've got the farmer market, you've got Imam Sohaib Webb down the street in Santa Clara, in my neck of the woods, giving a talk right now. And so for you to come out today for the support of Ruya Foundation and for the to learn about how to send your children to school on a budget for college funding, I think this shows a great impetus on your part for knowledge, for seeking knowledge, for education, to be actively engaged in your Islamic tradition. So jazakumullah khairan for that. My name is Elijah. I'm a professor at Santa Clara University in Arabic language, and I dabble with sociolinguistics there when they let me teach it. And I'm also a faculty member at Wynn Claremont, and I also teach for the Academy of Quranic Linguistics. So as we're pulling up the slides, I just kind of want to get a feel. If you're in college or getting ready to go to college, can you raise your hand? All right, a good number of you. Okay, excellent. This should be right up your alley. Jazakallah khair. Here we are. Unfortunately, it changed my fonts. I spent a lot of time making the font perfect, but you can never be sure when you're sharing files. Okay, so I want to talk to you about Tajdid al-Ulum al-Islamiyya. Tajdid al-Ulum al-Islamiyya, and this is the renewal of the Islamic sciences. Now, what you think of Islamic sciences might not be what I have in my mind, and we're going to. I'm going to take you on a tour of there. Okay. First of all, there is a Sahih Hadith. It's found in numerous sources. Tirmidhi and Riyadh al-Salihin, of course, and Al-Bukhari. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that Allah does not remove knowledge from a people except that He takes away their scholars. Right? He does not take away your knowledge, He will take away your scholars. And this should cause alarm to us. When we look around, we see who are our scholars, who are leading us, and we have a crucial role in fostering their development. Even though they are teaching us, we must make space for them to continue their own education and research. I don't know if this is going to work or not. You'll have to open up. I'm going to do a quick poll. Actually, we're not going to worry about the internet connection right now. I'll just ask you. Show of hands. The first word revealed to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the Quran. I'll give you 4 options. Was it Alhamdulillah? Was it Assalamu alaikum? Was it Aap kaise hai? I didn't speak Urdu. Toda? Or was it Iqra? It was Iqra. I think raise your hands if you say Iqra. All right, this is pretty common knowledge, right? We all know this. Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Now, the second question I want to ask is, what does Iqra mean? To read? To recite? To read out loud? You know, this is exactly what I thought for about 10 years as a Muslim. Until I started learning Arabic and I started to dabble with the earliest lexicons. I'm talking about not even the Lisan al-Arab, which is a very late dictionary, a compendium of Arabic words. I'm talking about Khalil ibn Ahmed, these early lexicographers even. They all say that the meaning of Iqra is tajamma, to gather, to join together. Right? If you don't believe me, you can go look this into any of the classical traditions. The word Iqra begins to mean reading only by the 9th century. It's about 200 and some odd years after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the meaning of the word Iqra changes. And we know this through historical linguistics, and it's undisputed. It's indisputed. This is commonly known that the root word qara'at al-naqa means that the she-camel goes into labor. She has contractions because her womb gathers together. This is according to Lisan al-Arab, this is according to Al-Qamus Muhit, and this is according to Khalil ibn Ahmed and so many others. This is the first entry. Why don't we know this? I mean, my question is, I'm a linguist, I'm supposed to know this. I just happened to cross it, you know, just one day wanted to see, oh, what is the root of this word? Iqra, Quran. Quran, I'm always told, oh, it means the great reading, the great reading. But in reality, that's not what it meant at all. So it calls me to think, where are we? Where are our scholars who are just, you know, going along with the tradition and forgetting to investigate what our tradition has actually said, rather than just mimicking what had previously been reported? Okay? I'll ask one more question. Finish this hadith. Ignorance is an illness. Right? Ignorance is an illness. And its cure is, what would you guess it to be? Knowledge, right? That's what I would think. But it's not. Who knows what it is? Exactly. As-su'al. Inquiry. Inquiry. That's the cure to ignorance. Not knowledge, questions. So we have to ask questions. This is what we like to imagine as when we say Islamic sciences. Islamic sciences, some time long ago in a romantic past, this is where the Orientalists and the Muslims agree. Right? We both look to the past as this golden age of Islamic inquiry. People were really learning and studying. And we oftentimes like to imagine that algebra, for example, as you all know, or many of you know, algebra was invented by a Muslim for calculating the zakat, right? Your purity tax. And so a lot of people will say, well, that's why it becomes an Islamic science. Right? This is actually not the case. It is an Islamic science by virtue of the fact that it is investigating. It is investigating the phenomenal world, right? A kind of a dhikrullah, right, with algebra. Can you imagine that? Algebra was a very painful experience for me. But it's a kind of dhikr, right? And so when we talk about sciences today, we like to think of them in terms of the worldly sciences and then the sacred sciences. But for the scientists, for the Muslim scientists, there is no distinction. There's no distinction. You're probably looking at me like, why is this Arabic teacher talking to me about science? How many of you know what linguistics is? All right, so it's the scientific study of language, human language, and then some will say it's the scientific study of knowledge, human knowledge, a kind of scientific process of epistemology, or otherwise known as how do you know what you know? That's what we investigate as linguists. I run experiments, I have to set up hypotheses, make predictions, and get peer review, and get approval for human experiments. Don't worry, I don't experiment too hard. It's just investigating your language. So, this is how I understand science today. It is not something that is just categorically in natural sciences and social sciences, and these are nice categories, but these categories actually start to merge around the 1950s, right? The 1950s with the boom of the cognitive revolution, as we call it. If you could turn the slide, please. When we talk about modern Muslim sciences, this is what some people would probably have it in mind. I mean, we're all kind of think of it, right? We thought we had this glorious past, but then today, this is where we are, right? We say it as a joke, but then we also say it knowing, I think I might try my luck at a non-Muslim doctor, a non-Muslim dentist, just in case, right? So, after we've gone through this stage of the golden era of Islamic sciences, and now we've gotten to this point where we think we're in the dark ages, right? A lot of people imagine that the Muslims are today in the dark ages because we are not compatible with modernity and modern inquiry and methods. And I disagree with that, but I just want to show you this slide for a brief moment. When people think of Quran and science, or modern science and Islam, they usually have this in their mind, you know, the story of the zygote, you know, from Surah Al-Alaq. Or they'll talk about, the Quran, the scientific miracles of the Quran, the scientific perspective of the Quran, meaning we look at the Quran with a scientific lens. Or the Quran and modern science, that somehow we can talk about whether or not it's compatible or incompatible. The Quran is compatible or incompatible with the reality around us. These are the wrong questions, actually. These are good for da'wah to non-Muslims, perhaps. You can say, I can show you this very cool miracle in the Quran, it talks about this. But this is not going to cultivate Iman for Muslims. It's not, because in fact, Iman is a kind of scientific method. Iman is in fact a kind of scientific method. We investigate, we hypothesize, we test, and then we confirm. Because Iman is actually confirmation, it's not belief. It is to confirm securely an understanding. And there is no confirmation without shahada. And there is no shahada without confirmation. You could turn to the next slide. So just to kind of bring it down to what we're talking about here, if you've never heard of hermeneutics, hermeneutics is the field of, it's basically like tafsir, modern tafsir. It's the way that we view or analyze scripture, okay? Hermeneutics is really talking about how to transform your view of the world using your scripture. Okay? We've been using this scientific process, or as I showed on the last slide, this scientific perspective to shape the way that we look at the Quran. Whereas we also need to think about transforming our worldview or our imagination of the world around us with the Quranic lens. That's what hermeneutics is about. So our understanding of the phenomenal world, of course, transforms our reading of the Quran, but shouldn't our understanding of the Quran also transform our reading of the world, reading of the ayat Allah in the world around us? Okay. And for me, this is what I believe we owe as Muslims, as Americans, and as Siliconians. Is that what you call people from Silicon Valley? Siliconian? I'm a transplant myself. I'm not from here. But I'll say this. We are at a particular time in the world where we are witnessing a convergence. And qadr Allah, yani we in the Bay Area, whatever happens here radiates throughout the rest of the world. It resonates, and people flock here. So we have a responsibility here, I believe. And this responsibility is not just for the sake of da'wah, not just for the sake of converting people to Islam, but really to use and to cultivate first our skills, both in our Islamic understanding and in our understanding of the world around us, because they are not actually distinct. They are one and the same. So we owe this to the rest of Bani Adam, not just to the Muslims. We don't want to ask for Allah to make Islam strong. Islam is already strong, alhamdulillah. It's we who need to be strengthened, okay? So we often think of, and this is what I'm calling a Quranic hermeneutic. That is that the Quran guides our way of life, not just in our daily activities and our dealings with people on a social level, but how we see the world around us, how we investigate scientifically the phenomenal realm, okay? And now, of course, you know, you think about how many times does the Quran praise the memorization of the Quran? Doesn't. But yet we do that. Alhamdulillah. Inshallah, we all try to memorize the Quran and put it in our hearts. But the Quran actually never praises you for memorizing the Quran. Okay? Memorization is the lowest level of learning. It's a fundamental. And you have to have it. What does it praise? Using your aql. Using your aql when you look at the world. Constantly, hundreds of times, the Quran says, look to the world around you. You don't believe the signs that we're telling you in this Quran? Look to the world around you. You'll see a confirmation. Okay, so it's a reading of two books that we have to do as Muslims. Alhamdulillah. We have this task of reading two books, the Quran al-Kareem and the world around us. And they have to rhyme, right? They have to resonate together. So Allah Ta'ala says, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that in a hadith sahih that Allah will send every head of a century a mujaddid or somebody to renew the faith. And this is interpreted sometimes to mean a people who will renew the faith, okay, meaning the faith of Islam. This doesn't mean, of course, we try to identify who are sometimes the mujaddid of our times and these things, but you are at a time and a place where this convergence is transpiring, right? Where whatever happens here in the Bay Area and in Silicon Valley resonates throughout the rest of the world, right? So we may, inshallah, we may or may not be in that generation. We might not be the individuals of the generation who comes to Yujaddid al-Din. But when you are located in a place like this, such as the Bay Area, with so many opportunities for scientific exploration, for technological exploration, and mashallah, a very large and prosperous Muslim community, alhamdulillah, I'd say that we are facing a convergence where we have a heavy responsibility, right? We find ourselves today in an era of scientific inquiry, okay? Our dominant view today, by the way, in terms of religion, and this is after Émile Durkheim, who died in 1917, he's a French sociologist, he had this view of the world that has become the dominant view that most people today, even most of us in this room perhaps, have. And that is that the world can be divided up into the sacred and to the mundane. The mundane meaning the worldly life, and then the sacred being some, like the mosque is sacred, but the school is mundane. The university is profane, right? The minbar is sacred, but the bathroom is mundane. It is dirty. Well, another scholar later comes to criticize him, Jack Goody, and he says that this was very much a product of European religious thought after the modernization, after the 18th century, rather than a universally applicable criterion. That is, in our Islamic milieu, I should say rather, our Quranic perspective, there is no desecration of the world. We're not allowed to desacralize the world. Right? The ayat of Allah are everywhere in this world. And they are sacred. They are not profane. They are not mundane. And so one of the renewers of the religion said, I believe to be one of the renewers of the religion in the 20th century, Said Nursi, he was a Kurdish scholar who died in modern-day Turkey in 1960. I don't know if anybody's familiar with any of his works, but we seem to be very familiar with, you know, mujaddid, so to speak, of secular sciences. Like everybody knows who Albert Einstein is. But how many of us know who Said Nursi is? We all know who Imam al-Ghazali is. He died 1,000 years ago, and he was ahead of his time. But we only want to hearken back to him, rather than looking at who are our scholars of today. Who is ahead of their time today? Right? So we have quite a few of these, but we need to seek them out and encourage them and foster their growth. And incidentally, one of the topics that some of the modern scholars, you have of course like Mohammed Iqbal and Said Nursi and others from the 20th century, they emphasize that the desacralization of the world around us, that is the desacralization of the signs of God, is the dominant problem that we are facing today. It is the dominant problem that as Muslims and as human beings. And so this is why I say that it is our responsibility as Muslims, but also in general as people, as Bani Adam, to encourage others to re-sacralize, or rather to see the world around us as in fact sacred signs. And we have a whole slew of modernized technologies and disciplines with modernized methodologies that we don't necessarily have to look back to some archaic tradition from 1,000 years ago. People have advanced far, far away from the antiquities of medieval Islam. So we don't have to imagine a golden era in the past when inshallah the golden era could still be before us. Jazakumullah khairan. I'm out of time, and I hope you enjoyed what I had to say. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakumullah khair. I would like to invite Dr. Rashid Bhatti. Due to some program and delay, I would like to give his bio. Dr. Rashid Zafar Bhatti specializes in supercomputer design. He is a co-author of some top supercomputers that are in our own nation. He works for the IBM, and he works as a scientist for IBM in San Jose. The advent of the big data, he has been looking into hardware and acceleration of big data. His most recent personal obsession is to learn the language of Quran and develop deep understanding of Quranic revelations. Dr. Rashid Bhatti has been a dedicated operations advisor to Ruya Foundation from over a year here. I would like to invite him and give Ruya's perspective today. Jazakumullah, Dr. Rashid Bhatti.
Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا مقلب القلوب والأبثار ثبت قلوبنا على دينك. O turner of hearts and visions, please firm our hearts to your deen. اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا ورزقا طيبا وعملا متقبلا. O Lord, I ask you the knowledge that's beneficial, the provision that is the purest, and the action that is the most acceptable. اللهم أرنا الحق حقا وارزقنا اتباعه وارنا الباطل باطلا وارزقنا اجتنابه. O Allah, show us the truth as the truth and provision us and let us follow it and show us the falsehood as falsehood and help us to restrain from it. Alhamdulillah kafa wa salamu ala ibadihi alladhina istafa. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen, respected guests, I welcome you to the Ruya Foundation. I joined this noble cause a year ago, and it is a matter of great pleasure and honor to say a few good words about Ruya Foundation in front of you. I know that most of us are here to listen to the actual content, and it has been delayed, so I'm going to just make it as easy, quick, sweet as possible. So I would not take a lot of time. So just the quick background is that the Ruya Foundation came into existence because of a very common anxiety that we all feel, that over the centuries we have accumulated some problems because of, as Professor Elijah Reynolds just explained, that how we have not been researching on the religion for a while. So social, political, economical, and intellectual research has been suspended or has been in power. So the lack of formalization of these problems caused some serious issues like literacy, extremism, family issues, status of women, banking, financing, democracy, secularism, freedom of expression. We don't know where we are. So this actually brings in the vision, the ru'ya. Ru'ya literally means the vision. So the vision, the name ru'ya is derived from the Arabic word ra'a. It's a ra hamza ya, used in Quran over 300 times, to be exact, 324 times. Ra'a means to see, perceive, notice, observe, discern, consider, think, and contemplate. The Quran uses this word to see through logic, analysis, experimentation, history, and spiritual insight, encouraging the knowledge of physical and social science. So that actually brings to the mission of Ruya, which says that we strive to reconcile the Islamic thought with the scientific facts and encourage rational analysis of religious practices. To achieve this mission, the primary focus of Ruya is to provide scholarship to produce ulama, or the scholars, who are formally trained both in religious studies and scientific disciplines. And the secondary focus is to arrange seminars, to introduce healthy debates, provide educational materials and tools, one of them is this, and publish papers and articles, encourage research in Islamic discipline and at the highest level of academic studies. So to achieve this mission, the first phase is to actually enable our scholars, and that is the journey we have already embarked on. And we are providing scholarship, as this poster also already says, that we are providing scholarship to the religious scholars to actually encourage them to learn the modern sciences, which is the theme. And I don't think that anybody would deny the fact that this is important. Our generations, our youth, do need the scholars who can actually answer their questions that run in their minds while they go to the secular school systems. So, and of course, there are phase 2 and phase 3. They're on the website. You can just go. Alhamdulillah. I will just quickly go through some accomplishments of Ruya Foundation that has been accomplished during the last 1 year. First thing is that Ruya Foundation is now an official California registered 501(c) nonprofit organization. So anything that's donated is tax deductible. Okay, so another thing is that we have successfully gathered a lot of community support from ulama, common people alike. We held a successful fundraiser last year and secured preliminary level of funding to get us started. Of course, we just started. A journey of 1,000 miles, just started. During this year, we have reached to a lot of religious scholars, including very well-known Mufti Mudassir Damat Barakatuhu, and the principal and the founder of Bayan University, the scholars at Zaytunas College, and Imam Osama Kanan, Zaid Shakir, Imam Tahir, you name it. Everybody endorsed Ruya's mission. So alhamdulillah, we have the community support and the scholars are with us, alhamdulillah. So we did a limited advertisement during this year and received a very encouraging response from our scholars. And we have evaluated a lot of applications through a very rigorous application process and through an independent selection committee composed of academic and religious scholars, both academic professors of university and scholars. And finally, the most exciting thing is that we have already granted our first scholarship to Mufti Mahdi Alam, who is a very keen and progressive student at Columbia University. He's pursuing the degree in cognitive sciences and Islamic studies. And since Sayyid Sarwar Saab, the owner of Chandni Restaurant, has been the primary and key to the pattern of the Ruya Foundation, we dedicated the scholarship to him. So, last but not the least, I would request you guys that please keep Ruya Foundation in your sincere prayers, and your continued support is essential to keep the Ruya's mission going. Volunteers, web dev, accountants, anything that you can, any kind of support you can provide. The public relationship, social, moral, or of course, the envelopes. This is not a formal fundraiser, I hate fundraisers. So but there are some envelopes down there. If you think that all the catastrophes happening in the world still let you participate something to this noble cause, reach out to your pocket, put something in there, or just put your credit card number on there and just provide a consistent group. So this is a team, and I feel extremely honored to have my name as an operational advisor to this noble cause. And I thank you very much for listening to me. I'm really humbled to be at this podium. And with this, I would just put, you have already learned the complete introduction of Mr. Wayne. So I would just, with no further delays, I would just invite him to the podium. Please, the whole wait is over, folks. The thing is here, that you're here for. Okay, please.
Thank you, Dr. Bhatti, and I want to thank Ruya for this opportunity to let me share what I know with you about college funding and college financial planning. I want to take this opportunity as well to thank my partner, Sri Putreddy here, who is here to support the event as well. And so he, in fact, I'm going to introduce him very quickly before we go on. Oh, but by the way, because of compliance regulations, there's no there's no recording of this event, unfortunately. Okay. Like I said, I want to introduce my partner here, Mr. Sri Putretti, who is a senior advisor here with us, a senior college planning advisor on BSMD programs, or guaranteed medical school programs. I know some of you here may be interested in medical school, and he's the dedicated Bay Area leader here in terms of that. So if you have any questions or would like to be notified of future seminars of that, please see him afterwards. And also, we will be, as part of in our cooperation with Ruya, we have extended a discount for those who would like to take a one-on-one consultation with us at the end. If you cannot stay until the end, you can also see Mr. Putretti here to make an appointment as well.
Thank you very much. It has been wonderful to see you guys all, and I want to present my special thanks to Mr. Wynn for to spend his valuable time and give us this valuable information. One thing that I wanted to highlight, or Ruya Foundation want to convey very clearly, that we did not get any financial advantage of Mr. Wynn, nor we had to pay him. So it was like pure, friendly relationship to bring some wonderful information to you guys that might be beneficial for you and your children. So that is one thing. So with this, I thank you guys all for taking time and coming up here. Once again, I request you guys that Ruya Foundation is your own organization. It requires your prayers, your help, and your support. And with that, I would like to continue with this, with the dua. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربنا لا تؤاخذنا إن نسينا أو أخطأنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا إصرا كما حملته على الذين من قبلنا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا ربنا ولا تحمل علينا ما لا طاقة لنا به واعف عنا واغفر لنا وارحمنا أنت مولانا فانصرنا على القوم الكافرين ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين جزاك الله خيرا كثيرا السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.